This is KUGAN CASSIUS for IFL TV in association with MTK Global. We're in Miami, ahead of Miami Fight Night this Thursday. I'm delighted to be joined by Avril Mathie. Have I pronounced that right?
That's correct. Yes.
Your accent, because you're Australian, aren't you?
Australian, yeah. Fully Australian.
Fully Australian, but you live out here in Miami?
Yes, correct. I've been here for almost 4 years now.
Okay. Why did you decide to come out to Miami?
Well, I was boxing as an amateur in Australia, and I really decided that I wanted to turn pro, but I thought there's no point doing that in Australia because the boxing scene's really not that big there, and it's impossible to, all our best boxers in Australia have other jobs. It's not a viable career in Australia. But in America, it is. And in my opinion, if you want to be the best at something, you need to be doing it day in, day out, and committing your life to it. So that means being able to make a career out of it. And since I moved to America, I've had some amazing opportunities, not just with boxing, but with modeling as well. And the whole package has really propelled me forward and allowed me to be a full-time boxer.
Can you talk to me about how the link-up and association came with MTK Global?
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
How the link-up came with MTK Global?
Okay, so Chris Algieri is one of my best friends, and Kevin Rooney is one of his best friends, also a friend of mine. And when I had just turned pro, Kevin introduced me to MTK because he'd worked with some of the guys before in the past, and he was like, guys, you have to meet this girl, she's, going to be great with MTK, and so told to me because, it's difficult with boxing. There's a lot of people you don't know who to trust and who's going to do the right and the wrong thing, and especially Chris has had a hard run, and being one of my best friends, I've seen the worst and the best of it. So it was, Kevin vouched for MTK and was like, there's some of the good guys in boxing and they'll take good care of you, and so far they've been amazing for me, so I'm really happy.
When this show got announced here in Miami, you must have thought, wow, finally a high-end show comes to Miami, and surely I've got to be on it. You must have thought that, surely.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. We don't really have that many boxing shows in Miami, and anything we do have is typically pretty small. So when I found out about this card, I was like, no way. It's one of the biggest fight shows of the year in the world, let alone just for Miami. And I wanted to be on it so bad, and I'm super excited to have got the opportunity. Actually, I met Eddie in Mykonos.
Oh, look, there he is. There he is.
Eddie, I was just telling our story.
Oh, please carry on. Please carry on.
Yeah, so I actually met Eddie in Mykonos randomly a few years ago. And my boss, who I was working for out there at the time, was a friend of Eddie. And we went out one night. He was there on a bachelor party. But the thing was, I didn't even know who he was at the time. And
it's all right, you can be forgiven for that one.
Yeah, but anyway, so it was great to meet him then, but we haven't really been in touch or anything. And then when I got on the show, obviously he knew who I was from Mykonos, so he sent me a message we finally did it, and I was like, yes, thank you so much, I'm super grateful. So
I wonder how many other people have got I met Eddie Hearn in Mykonos stories, Avril.
Yeah, no, I won't be saying any more about that.
How aware of the UK scene for women's boxing are you? How aware of it are you? What fighters do you know from the UK?
As far as women's boxing, I don't really know too many from the UK. I mean, I know who Katie Taylor is, an amazing talent from Ireland, obviously. And that's about it. Yeah.
Because women's boxing in the UK is kind of thriving at the moment. It's doing better than it has done over the years, so I suppose Katie Taylor's got a big part to play with that, but there's also other boxers like Savannah Marshall, and there's Shannon Courtney. There's loads of boxers kind of on the women's circuit that are trying to build their name.
Yeah, actually I have heard of some of these names before, I just couldn't think of them off the top of my head. Sorry, girls. But the scene in the UK for boxing is incredible. But I think UK boxing is everyone in the UK knows about UK boxing and gets behind it, which is amazing, and really supports it. And then it's the same here in America. And I guess because I'm here in America, I follow more of the American boxers. And for me, I actually never really watched too much boxing. I know that's so bad to say, and I'm really embarrassed to admit that. But I didn't really start watching boxing until I was here in America, and I'd be training in the gym. And, you know, I'm very friendly. I'll say hello to everybody. If there's some new guy in the gym, I'll be like, oh, hey, how are you? What's your name? Where are you from? Blah, blah, blah. And be like, when's your next fight coming up? And is there a way I can watch? And it'll be like, oh, yeah, I'm Paulie Malignaggi and it's on HBO. And I'm like, wait, are you famous? Who are you? And so then, of course, I watch his fight. And then there's all the other fights on the undercard. And you're kind of like, damn, that guy was good. And you follow his career a little bit. And yeah, so then I started to really get into boxing only like a few years ago when I moved to Miami. So I'm embarrassed to admit that, but I'm more aware of the American scene now because just being here and meeting these guys in person in the gyms, I travel a lot around America to other gyms it's tough getting sparring sometimes. So I'll go spend time in Chicago, LA, New York and just hang out and spar for a week or two or a month or, you know, get some different work. It's the best way to improve. And through that I've just like met a lot of different guys and just follow their careers and yeah.
Okay. Can you just, for people that don't know, Avril, tell me about your boxing career since it started, kind of what you've done and what you haven't done yet, etc.
Yeah, sure. So I used to kickbox just for fitness, like Muay Thai, when I lived in Australia. And at one point I threw a kick and when I put the foot back on the ground, I landed funny and I broke my toe. So boxing was the only thing I could do to stay fit. I couldn't run, couldn't jump, nothing, but I could hobble around on the outside of my foot. So I started boxing and the coach I had at the time, he had been a boxer, not a good one or anything, but like started teaching me more the tactical side of it. And I was like, wait a second, I need to have a fight. I need to be tested. So I had my first fight 6 months later, still had a dodgy foot. And I won and I was just like, oh my God, like, because I come from a background of doing pageants and modeling. And when I first started doing that, it was like a thrill to get up on stage. You have to answer questions on the spot. And I don't know if you saw me today. I didn't know I had to make a speech today. They threw me up there and they're like, the stage is yours. I was like, damn. And I had to just come out with something. And I was like, thank God, pageant's paying off. But anyway, so the edge that the pageants were sort of losing for me, that thrill, boxing gave me back, plus more. Like you have to think in split seconds of time and react to someone coming at you, but it's not just intellectual, it's like your fitness and everything that you prepare and put into it on the line as well. So boxing was like my addiction, but I was just boxing as an amateur in Australia. Like I said, I didn't see the point in turning pro in Australia. And then a few years in, I thought, you know what, like I want to have a proper go at this. Like you only get one life and like, why not? You know, like I don't want to get to old and be like, why didn't I try? Like what's the worst that can happen? I go back home or do something else or do more modeling or whatever, like, or who knows what other opportunities might come up. So I moved to America and just gave it a go. I had 11 amateur fights in Australia. I had another 9 in America. And honestly, I didn't really like do anything amazing in the amateurs, but that wasn't what it was about for me. Like it's hard enough to get a fight being a female as an amateur. So for me, I sort of more used it I wanted to get to a stage where I could get in the ring and be focused from start to finish and not be like overcome with adrenaline and nerves. And when I had 5 fights like that, I was like, all right, boom, ready to turn pro, let's go. So I turned pro. It was hard to get opportunities as a 0-0. You know, no one wants to put you on their card. So I had a couple of fights over in the Dominican Republic just to, you know, test the no headgear thing going on and, you know, build a record a little bit. And then after that, I was like, all right, like, let's get some real fights going on here. So I had a really tough fight, my third fight in Tampa. And it was against a girl. She was like 5-5, 1 draw, I think, but she was good. Like her 5 losses, 1 was a world title shot, like the rest were against champions, you know, and I think I won that fight, but it was a draw. So it was a tough fight and it was what I really wanted, you know, and since then it's just been, like good fights that I've been able to build myself and implement the things that I'm learning and grow as a fighter. And I'd like to have a few more fights of, you know, I'm improving a lot from fight to fight, but I'm not quite where I want to be yet before I start taking those world title shots. Like, I'm getting there and I'm close, but I want a few more just to, like, you know, the things I've been working on, know and have the confidence that I can pull them off and like be who I want to be. And every fight's a step closer, and this is going to be another one of those, you know, putting on a performance and putting on a show. And yeah, just like getting up there and having a great time. So I'm hoping maybe by the end of the year I might be ready for that world title shot. That's what I'm planning in my head. So we'll see. Yeah. Right now I just want to stay busy, take as many fights as possible. I love to fight, like nothing else. So the more I can have, the better, and the faster they go, the better, because then I can have more. So yeah.
So are you model first, then boxer, or boxer first, then model?
If you're talking timeline, then model first, then boxer. If you're talking right now, what's important to me in my life, boxer first, then model.
That's a fair comment. That's a fair comment. Well, if you ever need any sparring in the UK, let me know. Hook you up with one of the girls.
Amazing talents out there. Yeah, last time I was there, I was sparring with Sherelle Brown and Amy. What's her name?
Amy Whiteside.
No, she's amateur, and she fights at 57 kilos, blondie, and she always wears baggy clothes. She's such a pretty girl, smoking body, but she wears the baggiest clothes. Anyway, she's a talent. She actually fights for the New Zealand team, but she's based in London, and yeah, great sparring for me. Yeah, so but the more the merrier. Yeah, always looking for it. So.
All right, no problem. Well, listen, I've had you for 11 minutes now, so I'm not going to take too much more of your time. I appreciate your time, Avril. Let's see what you bring in Miami on Thursday night, live on DAZN and obviously on Sky Sports back in the UK. So, yeah, you're obviously on Instagram and Twitter and everything else.
Yeah, everything. I'm just my name, Avril Mathie, which is like Avril Lavigne, and then Mathie like math, science, and English, but with an IE.
You've said that before, haven't you? You've said that before.
It's not the easiest name to spell, so you got to have like something, you know.
Well, I appreciate your time, and yeah, we look forward to seeing you in action on Thursday night. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Avril.
Gold Star Promotions is proud to present Floyd Money Mayweather. The man himself is coming to the UK for his UK tour, February and March 2020. For all info and tickets, goldstarpromotions.co.uk.